Good morning. There's so much I want to say. There's so many songs I want to play. There's so many memes I want to show you. But all I have is this 15 minutes, and I'm, I, because I basically, you know from experience not to saturate people's news feeds. Nobody wants this, so it's one song, one meme. And I usually, sometimes I break this rule, but usually I don't pass this. So everything is choice. Everything is choice. I have to think. I'd hate to be the poor cunt that's sharing a dorm with me because I'm tortured to share a dorm with because I'm up out of bed, back into the bed, up out of bed, back into the bed. I don't sleep much, and I'd say when I get up, it's 5 o'clock in the morning now, and I'd say when I get out of the room, he says, "Thank God that cunt's gone." But as I say, I have 15 minutes, and here I am wasting them. Something like life. But I want to start. I wrote down a quote from Kierkegaard and the reason I wrote this down is yesterday, I couldn't remember the dichotomy of control. I couldn't remember the dichotomy of control, and I should know the dichotomy of control. I really should. It's the first. It's a major tenet in Stoicism. And yesterday, when I couldn't remember the dichotomy of control, then my soul was saying to me, then during the day, ask yourself, are you the best ambassador for Stoicism? Are you the best ambassador for Stoicism? And I just laughed at him. I said, yeah, actually I am. But there's so much going on in my fucking head. I just couldn't remember the dichotomy of control. But you can look up the dichotomy of control yourself. Just look up the dichotomy of control. But I can see his point, but I should remember the dichotomy of control, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, I wrote this down because I put these things in all my own words, and I seek to understand them in my own words and my own ways. I don't really, I have my own. It's not just knowledge to me. It's not just for blowing smoke up your arse. It's practical knowledge for me that I use, and it's when I have it in my own words and I can live it, practice it. I don't need these, except I want to relate them to you. But anyway, this is from Kierkegaard. The biggest danger that losing yourself, the biggest danger, that of losing yourself, can pass off in the world as quickly as if it were nothing. Every other loss, an arm, a leg, $5, a wife, etc., is bound to be noticed. Now this is really, really worth contemplating, this quote from Kierkegaard, because I can tell you there's so many fucking ways you can lose yourself. There is so many ways you can lose yourself. You can lose yourself in the finite, you can lose yourself in the infinite, you can lose yourself to other people, just like, well, vampires, I'll explain the whole vampire thing, but vampires, the same as myself, will your energy is your lifeblood. Your energy is your lifeblood. And I'll explain the whole vampire analogy. And this is the whole thing about the vampires and philosophy and art. I'll explain all this. There's so much I want to say, but anyway, them taking your energy for their own needs, for their own gains, without any benefit to you, any great benefit to you. This is another way you lose yourself. There's so many ways you can lose yourself. But I want to talk about something this morning because it's something that's on my mind. Sometimes I want to explain my behaviour and I want to explain why I do the things I do. And I just can't. I'm not allowed. My soul used to say to me, I can't. There's certain parameters. And now I know exactly what he means. There's certain things I can't say. You have to think for yourself. But one of the ways that people can lose themselves, and one of the worst ways I think you can possibly lose yourself, is to the perceptions and insecurities of others. Especially those, for example, who can't control themselves but want to control you. And this is so common. They can't control themselves but they want to control you. Now, when I say they can't control themselves, we are nature, we are animals. So basically, a lower animal has no free will, but it'll do what a lower animal does. So it'll follow its instinctual drives. It will, instinctual drives, ID, yes. This is instinctual drives, yeah. I call them primaveral instincts, but we'll go with Freud's term, the instinctual drives. So this is the will to live, the will to live, the will to power, the will to procreate, and the instinctual drive for pleasure. Now they can't control these. Now, I used to say you have to overcome these, but it's not about overcoming these, it's learning how to control these, how to use this. And this is why I say you don't get rid of the ego. Don't get rid of the ego, and I'll explain about this later, because don't get rid of the ego, learn how to control the ego. Learn how to control the ego. Now, one of the worst ways you can lose yourself is to somebody who cannot control these instinctual drives, and especially if you throw in the insecurities as well. Now, I can't, this is not a big fat generalization. It's for you to think, does this apply to you? And it's just a consideration for you, a perspective for you to ask yourself, does this apply to me? But anyway, because I can't use generalizations. It's not about generalizations. I'm not going to do Friday and I'm going to say, oh, people do this, people do that. Ask yourself, take this knowledge and ask yourself, just consider it. Does it apply to you? So basically, if these people can't, if they can't control their instinctual drives, and they might be able to control themselves in many other ways, discipline for work, discipline for diet, discipline for loads of other things, discipline in other ways, but they still, maybe they have no wish to control these instinctual drives. But sometimes the reason they can't control these instinctual drives is, number one, they don't want to, and number two, insecurities, and for example, the instinctual drive to procreate. Sometimes when people have insecurities and need validation and everything else, they need to feel that other people find them attractive and other people desire them, and other people desire them. But this also ties into the will to power, because if you can make somebody lust after you, you're controlling them. Do you understand? This all runs so fucking deep, but all I have is a few minutes. But then what happens is the universe will cause them feelings of jealousy, of possession, of all this. And as I said to the universe before, why did you do this? Why did you do this? And the universe just replies, it's like the oracle used to reply to them. It just gives you things that you think you have to think about. So the universe just replies, we don't see things the way they are, we see them the way we are. So they don't see things the way they are, they see them the way they are. Do you understand? They don't see them as is, they see them as they are. So basically, if they see things as they are, so they then, for example, might say, even though they can't control themselves, they project it onto you and think that you can't control yourself. And then this leads to feelings of jealousy, but this is their own actions that are causing their psychological problems. But they're given these psychological problems in order to address themselves and work on themselves. But people don't do this. They just project it onto others. But this is no introspection. Do you understand? So basically, one of the worst ways you can lose yourself is to somebody like this, because it's just not going to stop, And sometimes the universe will give you a warning, as it is now. And I have experience of this, and I said to the universe, you fucking blinkered me. And the universe gave me all these flashbacks, all these warnings, including telling me straight to my fucking face, and I just ignored them. I just ignored them. And I just said, I had to concede defeat. I turned out to the universe and said, you're right. I take that back, you're right. But this has given me empirical knowledge, which I'm now relating to you. And you can just choose to go down the path of the empirical knowledge like me and learn the hard way. Or not, it's up to you. But I will just say, if you seek to understand, now you will understand why I do some of the things I do, for those that this may apply to. Not everybody gets to watch these videos. If you notice this content, I know the value of my content. It'll take your brain to another dimension. But yet, like I was talking to a girl who studies psychology the other day, and she said, I'm here, and she's reading a book, Dr. Joe Dispenza's book. Dr. Joe, I call him Dr. Joe Dispenza, but she's reading his book, and she said, Dr. Joe is here. I said, you're down here, down here. you're that deep. And I says, yeah, no. But this is, you can either spiral up or spiral down, but the paradox is the deeper you dig, the more you spiral up. So the deeper you dig down, the more you spiral up. But I'll tell you something in a second. I just want to show you something. This is from my cognitive behavioural therapy course as well, the cognitive behavioural therapy course, and college's cognitive behavioural therapy course that I did about 4 or 5 years ago. But this was, see this diagram here? This is the emotional mind, the rational mind, and this is the sweet spot in between. Now see this little Venn diagram? That little Venn diagram there, if you take into account that everything is mind, see that little Venn diagram? Is stand back from your life and find balance. I could write volumes, books, and have done on this. I put most of them in the bin when I finish it, but I could write volumes and have done on this little Venn diagram. Just on this little Venn diagram here, I can write books on this. Finding that sweet spot, finding balance, and especially between the emotional mind and the rational mind. This is really important, because when it comes to things like love, you can be too rational. You can be too rational, and it won't do you any favours. Like, I had I suppose an argument with my soul yesterday. My soul says to me, kept attacking me over something. I said, what the fuck are you trying to do? Like, there's no issue. And the soul kept saying, no, I'm not going to let you do that. And I says, I'm going to do what? He said, the cat has come home wearing an armadillo shell. And I says, are you a cat? I said, you're making something out of it that it's not. And he says to me, no, you're making something out of it that it's not. But I'm going to move on. God said to me one time, that about eternal life, and I said, yeah, I don't want that. And God said, you don't want it? And I said, no, I don't want that, no. And he goes, why don't you want it? And I said, because I'm just grateful for this life. I'm just happy with this life. I just want to live this life. I just want to have the best experience I can have in this life. I just want to live this life. And I'm happy with this life. I'm grateful for this life. I don't care for this eternal life. And the reason I didn't care for this eternal life is I think that's the big problem with Christianity. The big problem with Christianity, to push this shit of heaven up your fucking hole all the time. Heaven. You go to heaven. And what happens is you lose this life in expectation of another. Do you understand what I'm coming from? You lose this life in expectation of another. Now, it was Nietzsche that said this, but I was on this before I even ever read a page of philosophy. Because this was before I ever even read a page of philosophy. That God said this, and I said, no, I have no interest in this. I'm just grateful for this life. I'm just grateful for this life. I just want to live this life, and when it's over, I'll be thankful for this life. But now, then we come along to Seneca now, and again, I'm going to read this because I've given it to you in my own words, but Seneca obviously is more articulate than me. The greatest loss of time is delay and expectation, which depend on the future. We let go the present, which we have in our power, and look forward to that which depends on chance. So we relinquish a certainty for an uncertainty. Now, that's the most important line in that. We relinquish a certainty for an uncertainty. Now, I want to talk about Mr. Wishy-Washy and the power of now. I don't agree with this, and there's a reason I don't agree with this, but I'm going to have to talk about this another day, about this power of now, because he's very much a no-ego man, and the power of now. Forget the past and forget the future and live now. But I want to tell you everything that's wrong with that, and I will tell you everything that's wrong with that. My soul said to me then, a later date, after a good bit of time, after I was into this journey and after studying philosophy, my soul said to me, if you work hard enough on yourself, you can stay conscious through the cycle of change. You can stay conscious through the recycling process. And he said, those people, are the people who rule the world. And I says, are you sure? And he says, yes, certain. And I said, that's very interesting. And I thought about it for a few minutes, and then I just said, do you know what? Let's just do what we agreed to do. Let's just do what we agreed to do. I don't want this carrot. Let's just do what we agreed to do. I may get off this bike.